Hello and welcome to Tales from Beyond the Sofa.
Woo!
If you are watching the video to this, you are one of our patrons, so thank you for your support.
Thank you very much.
What do you think of the t-shirt? Are you going to show them your t-shirt? If you remember where your camera is. Yeah, see, she's still on a Star Wars kick, so she's got her Darth Vader pinata t-shirt
I
on.
love this t-shirt. It's my fave.
You kind of claimed that one from me.
I did, indeed.
There was before we started dating, I used to go to this t-shirt shop. What's that area just north of Finsbury Park? Something green. I can't remember. But anyway, there was this really cool t-shirt shop there, and they had like just this vast array of very cool Star Wars t-shirts.
Nice.
You know, like my R2-D2 one where it's...
Oh, yeah.
It's just the R2-D2 print.
Yeah.
And I had like a ton of them. Like, this is when I was still working at that other office where I was paid very well on a weekly basis. And every week or two, I would just go there and just stock up on Star Wars t-shirts.
Saying that though, you do have a lot of t-shirts.
A lot of, yeah, but I don't really get to wear them anymore because
No.
of like, I can't wear them to work.
No, that's true. You can't anymore.
So every weekend I'm like, which one? I only have 2 days to wear these t-shirts. Which two this weekend?
Well, maybe wear one in the morning and one, change halfway through the day.
I'll just do a Madonna and
Yes.
just have like intervals, wardrobe change intervals and things. But yeah, I am so fried. This is my third podcast recording this week.
Yeah, this is true, yeah.
We did our Star Wars one just a couple of days ago.
Yep.
Well, 3 days ago.
3 days ago, yeah.
And then Dowdy came around the next night and he and I recorded our...
Two Guys, One Comic.
Two Guys, One Comic, talking about Saga.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mean, that one came out 2 weeks ago by the time this one comes out. But yes, I'm a little kind of, I have like podcast fatigue. And I mean, we're recording the next one this weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but it's only Monday, so. But yeah, I've got a bit of, so if I feel a little slow or lagging this evening, just, you can just cover for me, right?
Well, I'll definitely try.
You can do a little bit of the heavy lifting.
I will try.
Yeah. I'm just going to say as well, the lights behind you, I can see you at some point this evening pulling that little hook off the wall with your chair.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna lampshade it now, so if it happens during the episode and those that are watching the video see it happen, yeah, they know.
Yeah, they know.
Doesn't become this little irritant. But so yeah, I've just waffled on. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
It's been a good few days. I think we're progressing and stuff, and yeah, just been hanging out with the kids.
Yeah.
As you do.
And getting your fill of some beefy Henry Cavill.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
we're both getting our fill of it. I mean, so, you know.
Oh, Henry Cavill. Who doesn't like a bit of Henry Cavill?
This is the great thing about, well, for me as like a non-heterosexual man. Yeah, I can enjoy those kind of things with
indeed.
my wife.
Yep.
Like, give each other a little nudge. Like,
We actually do that quite often, don't we? It's like we're walking down the street or something, and it's like,
I mean, he's shredded, he's cut as Superman, but this one's just a bit nicer to look at.
Yeah.
You know?
But he actually, before we begin, we forgot to tell you that we've been watching The Witcher.
Yeah.
And that's what we're discussing
Well, yeah,
today.
I mean, that was implied with the Henry Cavill, but yeah. Oh, yeah, no, we totally didn't even say, thank you. You caught that one. We haven't even said the title of the thing. Yeah, my bad. See, this is what I'm saying. Podcast fatigue.
Yes, indeed.
You're going to need to catch those little misses. So, yes, as you were saying, we watched The Witcher.
We did.
We're actually halfway through the second viewing of it.
Watching it again actually fills in a few more gaps that I didn't.
We'll get more into
that
in spoilers.
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, it's epic.
Oh yeah, it is.
I mean, there's such a big lore, massive story. The characters are great.
I don't like that it's being pitched as a kind of, now that there's no Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Here's your, to
fill in the gaps of that Game of Thrones.
To scratch your Game of Thrones itch. I'm not keen on that comparison because I think it's a little unfair. It's its own thing.
It is its own thing, yeah.
So some people who are into Game of Thrones, they're going to go into it hoping for certain things or having particular expectations. And from what little Game of Thrones we actually watched, I don't think it's going to deliver on those expectations because it's its own thing.
It is a very different story though from what I could tell. I mean, we never watched Game of Thrones, so I can't even make that comparison.
Well, a lot of the premise of Game of Thrones, from what I remember, was that families and nations and blah blah blah. They're feuding. They've been feuding for centuries, for generations. Whereas The Witcher, it has an element of those kind of those feuds that have been going on, but there's a lot less to have to kind of take in all that, because remember we said this all through our first viewing of season 1 of Game of Thrones. Who are these people?
Yeah.
Oh my god, they're introducing a whole new group of people. I don't even... Okay. And they say names from the get-go.
Yeah,
like you're supposed to know who these are as soon as they say their name. And it took like a full season and then a second viewing of the first season to be like, right.
Yeah, I've got to agree with that. With The Witcher, at least we know who your characters are and it follows... just a few of them in their journey.
It's a much smaller cast of protagonists. And they've each got their own kind of supporting cast around them. And they're supporting... And, because I'm going to say up front, this isn't really a spoiler, but if you haven't seen it, I think you would enjoy it a lot more knowing that all the stories they're not happening side by side. They're all happening in different time frames. Other than Ciri's story, we can say this without being spoilers. Other than Ciri's story, the other stories are taking place over decades. Yeah. But because no one ages, it's actually really hard to, bar a couple of people here and there. Yeah. Nobody really ages, so it's really hard to gauge that sort of timeline. Yeah. But knowing that they're all happening in different periods makes it a lot easier to understand.
Yeah, I was really confused the first time of viewing until you told me, so I'm glad you've told the audience. Like you said, they don't age, and I couldn't figure out where, the period of time everything went. Like, I've now know that Ciri's story is the present day. Yeah. It's the one that it's culminating to, I guess. Yeah,
and the first half, there are a lot of clues to that. They actually tell you quite frequently that's... But because you're still getting to know the world, the characters, you don't catch those little clues. And it's like literally halfway through the season, there's a particular episode that does kind of clarify it.
Confirms it.
Suddenly there are characters that you haven't met before because of blah blah blah.
Or they're older.
Yeah, or they're younger. Or in the next scene, they're in the next scene. For once, there is a storyline going on where one person is in two different storylines. And then you're like, oh, I get it now.
I mean, there are, in terms of everything that's going on, there are 3 threads, right? In the whole thing. And the way they do that is really, really cool because they've got... With Geralt, like I said earlier, it's Monster of the Week. His story is literally about him and what he represents. Yeah.
He is... weirdly, he's like the B plot.
Yeah, he is.
Or even to a certain degree, the C plot of the story. And he is very Monster of the Week, but that's...
But it's not Monsters of the Week.
Yeah, it's more like Monster of that decade.
Yeah. Mm.
It's or it's like the only reason we're seeing this particular monster is because something within that quest plays into the larger story.
Yeah.
And we just needed to see that.
Yeah.
But the acting. Let's get down to it.
Go on.
The acting. What
the
do we
acting
think?
is incredible. I mean, Henry Cavill as Geralt is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
The way he looks, the way...
I mean, we don't know much about Geralt and this world. We've just started playing the game, but, we've seen enough of the, of it on social media and stuff to recognise it straight away. But what do we think of his performance?
He actually deepened his voice on purpose to make... and had a voice coach to do it.
There are often moments where he sounds a bit Guy Ritchie.
Do you think so?
I read somewhere, because obviously I haven't read the books, neither of us have read the books, but it's very exposition heavy. Apparently in the books, Geralt just never shuts up. Maybe possibly because it's told from his perspective, but we're constantly getting his thoughts and his musings and things
I love
like
the
that.
way he...
And they wrote it like that.
Yeah.
But upon shooting it and seeing just like his performance when he wasn't talking, when he was just... They eschewed that. There is a moment, I think, knowing that, there is a moment in the first episode where he's talking to his horse. He's telling his horse about, I think his first contract or something like that. I kind of get the sense that there was a hell of a lot more of that in the original script, but then, they removed it all because they just liked how sort of understated his performance was.
Yeah, Henry Cavill as Geralt can say so many things with just one look. Mm-hmm. That's all he has to do is just look.
That bit where he's like, there's a dude who's like, I ain't afraid of you. And Geralt just kind of stands.
Yeah.
What do we think of Yennefer?
I love Yennefer. I think the actress that portrayed her has been amazing to play the character that she's playing.
How she starts
and where she becomes.
It's
incredible.
It's like this playing a character like that. It's I can't really talk about her performance without going into spoilers. She is just an incredible actress.
Yeah, completely. And for me, she's the star of the show. She's why I'm going back, why I want to watch The Witcher. I want to see her journey more than anything else. Geralt,
and also hit the episodes with the Bard. They're very entertaining. And then, that's where, that's, come for The Witcher, stay for Yennefer.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ciri's also great. And Queen... Ciri's grandmother.
Yeah.
The whole cast is just incredible. Everyone just brings their A game.
They do indeed.
There is one flat actor for me, but I think... But that was initially at the beginning of the season, and then the more involved he was in the story, I felt like the better his acting got. I'll talk about it more in spoilers.
Is that the mage?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I mean, the language they use when they speak as well is very, very modern. It's
it's
the way they talk.
It's anachronistic.
Yeah.
There's this postmodern touch to the whole thing.
I love that though. I think that's fantastic.
The monster effects as well, and the creature design is really, really good. I don't understand why there were complaints about the effects and the fight choreography. I thought the fight choreography was pretty solid. I mean, in the first episode alone, there's this really brutal sword fight done in a single take. Yeah. Done as a one shot. Maybe there were hidden cuts, whatever, but either way, it's well shot. And,
It is.
There have been a lot of complaints, but I don't know. I think people just... because... All right, the ones that complain the most, they generally they start their reviews with their resume as far as their association with The Witcher is. I've read the books, I've played the games, blah 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 blah. Somehow that pre-qualifies their opinion on the series, and their complaints were things like the fight choreography, choppy editing, and I mean there was one editing flaw we both caught on a first
Oh,
view.
yeah. Which was funny.
Yeah. And being that was in the first episode, that did give me pause. It did make me worry a little. But then, I've been in an editing situation where you just don't have the corresponding footage. Like, you have a bunch of footage, but you don't have the exact
right one to go in that spot.
the exact motion or action that you need in that half a second moment. So you just do what you can. So
Could have also been a mistake. Maybe they just didn't see it. But if we did, I'm sure they did.
Yeah, because it was quite glaring.
What stands out for you?
The screaming.
Yeah, God, yes.
There's a lot of screaming in that show.
There is.
That's my only complaint. There are literally episodes where there's one episode in particular where it is almost like 10 minutes of
constant screaming.
Because it keeps cutting between two scenes, two storylines, but in that moment in the storylines there's just a lot of screaming. So no matter which way you cut. So there is a lot of screaming in that show. But I mean, overall that's my only complaint. I mean, one of my biggest problems with Netflix shows in general is the pacing. But this show has really good pacing.
Really good pacing. I think, yeah, definitely. I mean, I've never felt like I was bored at any point, or I felt engaged constantly because I wanted to know where it was going.
And not only that, but I never found myself wondering when this episode ends.
No.
And I do catch that with a lot of Netflix shows. That's what stops me from coming back very often. It's like, no matter how engaging it is, if we're 3 episodes in and every episode so far I've wondered when this episode finishes.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping that with season 2 they keep that up.
And I'm sure even if you haven't seen the series, you've heard the song. It gets stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Gets stuck in my head.
Randomly it'll just come into my head. And it's
I'll wake up with it. When I'm in the shower.
Toss a coin to my witcher, oh valley of plenty.
We're basically on our, I think, 3rd drink.
I think so.
I mean, tomorrow's New Year's Eve for us, so...
Chin chin.
We can't have a big, heavy New Year's Eve, so we have, like, 2 half New Year's. So we just... A little peek behind the curtain, a little kind of insight into how the sausage is made. We just finished recording the YouTube section of the podcast.
Yeah, spoiler-free zone.
Went to check on the kids, and Dee's like, hey, should we do shots?
Hey.
So
it doesn't take much convincing, though, does it?
I have a rubber arm, okay? I may not necessarily suggest it. I may have enough restraint not to suggest it. But if someone else does... So anyways, on that cheerful note, let's get into The Witcher.
Indeed, let's.
So, I don't know, there's not enough time to go through this episode by episode.
No,
so I figured,
definitely not.
How about we break it down into 2 halves.
All right, go on then.
We talk about... Because the series has a very definite halfway mark.
Yes, definitely.
Just as far as, narratively, there is a halfway mark, and then, the story shifts gear.
Yeah.
So we can talk about the first half, first of all. If you see a bunch of jump cuts on the Patreon video, it's because of how frequently Dee and I either burp or cough.
Yeah,
so,
my throat's a bit sore at the moment.
Yeah. You've always got a cough, but at the moment your cough is a little bit worse than it normally is.
Yeah.
And I burp a lot when I drink, so
It's the hops.
Yeah. So yeah, that just to explain the very frequent jump cuts. So let's get into The Witcher.
Let's get into The Witcher, right? Okay, so we have 3 protagonists. You got Geralt, obviously, who's played by Henry Cavill. You've got my favourite character, Yennefer.
Hang on, do you know what? Just because he was Superman doesn't mean he's the only person who deserves to have their name dropped. So I
remember his surname.
I'm gonna quickly bring up the cast.
They all deserve a mention. the acting is incredible.
Anya Chalotra?
Chalotra.
So she's Indian, you
Yeah,
say?
she's definitely Indian. Because you couldn't figure out her accent, and then I actually
There are
just said
times
it.
when she just sounds like Swedish or...
But she looks Indian.
Yeah, you know...
Or at least,
the thing is, for me,
South Asia.
she didn't look Indian to me. She just,
Ah.
you know when you see like casting calls and it says like ethnically ambiguous. That's what I, kind of.
That's the vibe you got off her. Fair enough.
I imagine her the casting call for Yennefer probably said ethnically ambiguous. British Indian family. I've never seen her in anything.
Is she in much though?
She's done. Oh, okay. She's only been in 4 things.
Oh, okay.
She was Robin Loxley in an animated series called Sherwood. She was in 3 episodes of the ABC Murders and 5 episodes of a series called Wanderlust.
I recognise Wanderlust. I don't know why. I never saw it, but I recognise it. Is it like a Channel 4 thing?
But yeah, she's incredible.
She is incredible. Her whole story, what we find out about
When
her.
we meet her, she's got the hunchback and the jaw and the voice and just the personality and then
I mean, she's
after
determined. From the moment you meet her, she's determined.
No, she's not. She's frail.
No,
do you
remember when she's carrying the pail of water and she's trying to get back through the pigs?
I think at that point she wasn't determined as so much as stubborn.
Possibly.
And then that stubbornness became determination when she finally found purpose. After her ascension, when they turned her classmates into eels and threw them in the pond, after that point, her stubbornness was finally cemented as determination, because you started to see that determination come out during like the lightning storm and
all of the tasks that she has to do.
Because remember the flower and the rock?
Yes.
That wasn't determination. That was desperation.
Yeah, that was. Definitely. I mean, the way she gets sold, though.
She's worth less than a pig.
Yeah.
Pigs are worth like 10 whatevers, and her father...
sold her for 4 or 6.
Yeah, 4 or 6. And they even haggled down as well.
Yeah.
Because even in her... Even in... What's the other... What was her mentor's name? This is
terrible considering, but we've only watched it once.
This is going to be a motif during this episode, me going, okay, let me look down. Tissaia? Tissaia.
Tassia.
I can't remember hearing her say it.
No,
I know she said it a lot toward, the second half of the... But I don't remember how she said it. But yeah, I mean, even... She lowballs him. I think like 3 coins, and eventually they meet on like either 4 or 6, like you said. There's a lot of stuff in the story here and there, directed at women. How much of that made you uncomfortable? And how much of it were you able to kind of like, I don't know, like excuse for story purposes? Do you think any elements of like, say for trigger warning for what we're about to talk about, but for example, there's that scene where Yennefer is giving the baby a eulogy.
Oh,
and she's, women are just vessels, and and how often they bring up like sexual assault and
parts of it I can understand in terms of the story. There's one that completely got me, which has nothing to do with sexuality, but to do with patriarchy as a whole, in terms of arranged marriages, because of the culture I grew up in.
What in particular are you referring to within this?
Well, the whole thing about the mum saying no, you can't marry. Because the whole...
Oh, right, you mean with Queen Calanthe and
her daughter.
Ciri's mother.
Yeah, and how she's already betrothed somebody, and then you had the law of...
the law of surprise.
Yeah, law of surprise come
Which is
in.
odd...
And she tries her hardest, Queen Calanthe tries her hardest to actually...
To find a suitable suitor.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the Nilfgaard suitor starts talking about his seed, and she just tears him down.
Exactly. It's so kind of different from that thought there, when she's cutting him down, and then the whole fact that her daughter has to go through an arranged marriage is conflicting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she does say, you know, if, yeah, this is because of some man's law, if it were up to her, she'd tell her
But she's queen, she could have changed it at any time.
I think this is set in a sort of time of history because where queens only wielded so much power.
Again,
think about like.
but then that
okay,
just...
I'll give you an example, a real life example. Think about like Elizabeth and also Victoria. Think about how many of those conventions that they railed against but were powerless to change. The way monarchies have been
Yeah,
treated,
this is true.
it was, even as a monarchy, it's always been like one rule for the men and another rule for the women. Mm-hmm. If a king decreed no more of this bullshit, then everybody would be fine. If a queen decreed it, there would probably be civil war.
I understand that, but that kind of hit home quite,
Did you have to, I mean, I can't imagine your parents really buying into that side of things, but did you ever have to deal with the arranged marriage
Oh yeah,
thing?
I went on dates. I had to go on dates. I mean, my parents gave, I went on a date with a guy called Deepesh. Now, can you imagine?
Deepa and Deepesh.
Yeah, exactly. I had to tell the guy right there and then that, no, I'm not interested.
I'm sorry, obvious joke is obvious, but Deepesh.
He was definitely Deepesh.
Yeah, he wasn't sure.
No.
Do you think he batted for both sides?
I went on one date with him for 3 hours. Nah.
Yeah. But because there's a lot of presumptions about arranged marriage especially in like Indian and also Muslim culture. I mean, you're not Muslim, but you're Hindu. But just clarify a lot of these kind of assumptions. An arranged marriage isn't like, hey, we found a dude when you were born, you must marry him.
It used to be like that. It's not so much like that now. It's more introductions.
When you say used to, how long ago was used to? We're talking decades? We're talking
maybe
generations?
My grandparents' era.
Okay. But
Maybe
in the modern
time, it's more like a dating agency. You kind of go on dates, figure out if you want to be with this guy, and it's yes or no.
So it's more like you go to your parents, you're like, Mom, listen, do you know anybody? Can you set me up with anyone? And, they go on the sort of the parent network of like...
Basically, it just gets onto the grapevine, people go, and you find out. It's the only reason it works is because of the family behind whoever their bride and groom
It's
are.
almost they vet potential suitors.
Yeah, based on the family though, not on the person.
Yeah, that's the one thing I've kind of I've kind of gathered is that it's they're looking for suitability based on their own criteria rather than their children's criteria.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of that kind of first to third date sort of groundwork of figuring out if they're right.
And it happens quite fast as well. I mean, it can happen...
Like you say it to your mum on Monday, and then by Friday you're
I'm
meeting.
engaged.
Oh, I was just going to say,
Friday.
I was just going to say Friday you go on your first date with the dude.
I went to the States, went on a date with somebody, and 2 days later we were engaged.
Wow.
But I was in a really bad place at the time.
Okay, so it was more like a rebound engagement.
Yeah, it was.
Like your cousin, for example, she and her husband, how long did they date before they got engaged?
About a year and a half.
And that wasn't a kind of sort of an arranged thing. It was
they met through
their parents,
families, whatever.
Family, friends,
yeah.
Their parents have a sibling who has a friend who has a cousin who, you know.
That's exactly how it works. And then that's how they got together.
Okay.
But it works in some instances, it doesn't in others. And I think that's with any relationship, it works or it doesn't.
Well, that's the surprising thing in this particular episode of Witcher, the law of surprise, because it turns out that she and the knight are very deeply in love with each other.
Yeah.
I don't know how aging works in this Witcher reality, because Geralt's story in episode 1, I'm going to take like an educated guess and say it starts like 50 years before Nilfgaard attacks Cintran.
Yeah, it seems like that, yeah.
And Yennefer's story starts at least 30 years because she's a court's mage for 3 decades, and you know, until that's the whole thing with the baby. So her suitor, this what was his name, Dougie or Doogie or something like that. He's a knight who saved her father's life before she was born.
Mm-hmm.
Am I the only one creeped out by that? Am I the only one creeped out?
How did they even meet? I mean, to fall in love that deeply, how did they even meet out of the castle?
They don't explain that.
They don't explain that.
But am I the only one kind of creeped out by the idea of a girl being betrothed to a full-grown man from the moment she's born?
No, that is creepy. That is creepy.
Cool. So I'm not the only one.
No, you're not.
Okay.
There are creepy elements.
I mean, they had a lovely, beautiful, romantic fairy tale thing going on, but I was still kind of creeped out by, like, Dirty Dancing creeped out.
Mm-hmm. Completely understand that.
Sorry to take a dig at one of your favourite movies. But come on, that the Patrick Swayze, Jennifer, Ferris Bueller lady, their age difference was...
yeah.
I mean, she was like supposed to be like 14 and he was in his 20s, so...
Creepy, you talk about creepy. What about that whole storyline between the brother and the sister and the...
Their incestual...
Yeah.
Their incestuous...
child being a monster.
What did they call it? It's like a skr sound.
Scared?
Scratching or
something like that. Yeah.
And it just screams.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing I was talking about earlier with the episode where there's just 10 minutes of screaming.
Yeah.
The creature design in that is just horrifically amazing.
Oh,
it's just fucking horrific and it's gross and it just haunts your nightmares, but it's amazing.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and the weird spider monster in the first episode. That is just a brilliant open to a first episode.
Mm-hmm.
And in the next scene, she offers him breakfast, and he's like, full.
Well, venison. My favourite character design...
Another jump cut.
My favourite character design is, Yennefer is being chased by the assassin and that kind of cockroach kind of scorpion kind of looking thing. That
with
was
the blades
amazing. And the assassin himself, the way he moved and commanded.
There we go. Just a little bit of pop. Yeah.
Commanded the creature. It was fabulous.
The thing is as well, there were little touches as well in the design that, like that assassin, like his eye makeup. That eye makeup just says so much. As soon as I saw it, I was like, assassin. Not brute, not merc, assassin.
Yeah.
And it's just little details like that just really pulls you in. The world building is brilliant. I know this world already exists. It's a pre-existing world that they've just kind of fit to TV, but the way they build their own world within the TV show.
Yeah. I mean, the way they build it and the way... because we say it's jumping from timeline to timeline, you don't feel confused or out of place when it comes to the world. The world
and when it comes back to each character, you may be a little bit confused as to how it relates to the overall story, but you're not confused as to like where they are in their story. Like, there is a sense of time every time we come back to Geralt or Yennefer, which is what was so confusing.
Yes, yeah.
And I think as well what works for the world building in this is that, you know, there's good world building and bad world building.
Yes.
A really good example of bad world building, even though I love this filmmaker and I do enjoy this film, is World of Warcraft. That's bad world building. You know, it's World of Warcraft would have worked better as a Netflix series like this.
Yeah.
If he'd done it over 10 episodes. But, you know, you're just basically, you're dropped into a situation and then for the next 20 minutes, every character you come across just drops exposition. Whereas this series...
It has time to grow.
This is exactly what I was going to say. This series, it doesn't do world building. It does more kind of world growing.
Yeah.
The only world building it really does is it kind of plants a few seeds, and then the story just allows those seeds to grow, and the world builds around the story really organically.
Yeah.
I mean, I may have had trouble for the first couple of episodes keeping up, mostly because I was just trying to figure out the timeline thing. But by the time the show ended, I had like a real kind of understanding of this world and this period of history.
Yeah.
And at no point did I ever feel like I was being schooled, you know. Nobody was like kind of, okay, let me take a minute to just explain the history between these two.
Yes. I completely agree. I mean, there is a part of that when they when all the mages are together and they explain their position with the kings and the queens.
No, I understand, but how that worked, or why that worked for me, why I didn't feel like an exposition dump, is because it was essentially a staff meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
And it functioned as a staff meeting. If it was a social event, for example, then it would have felt like exposition dump. But because it's like they're updating each other, and by doing that, they're filling in the audience. So the kind of world building and exposition was kind of built into the story.
Yeah,
I mean, we've talked a lot about like Yennefer and Geralt.
Yes.
We barely touched on Ciri. She has quite an interesting thing going on. So Ciri is actually, what was it, Geralt's surprise? Yeah, the Law of Surprise.
The Law of Surprise. So they actually belong together. There's a whole thing about destiny, and
in
it
the
starts
first episode.
from the first episode.
Yeah, the first episode, they're like, Geralt is your destiny. And we have no idea what that means or whatever. Maybe there's a prophecy, blah, blah, blah. And then we learn what that means as the story progresses.
And obviously her grandmother's kingdom is down, and now she's on the run. And she's in fear, she doesn't know who to trust, and she doesn't know what or who to believe. You know, but she's determined. She wants to find her destiny. She's been told this one thing.
Well, I mean, what did you think of that story, that part of the storyline? Because, I mean, when we're with Ciri,
yes,
we get to see a lot of how this world sees people like her.
Yeah.
You know, suddenly, like, there's that bit with the rich woman, and even though she's wealthy, she still hates the monarchy.
Yes, because of what they did to her husband.
But all he did was die in battle.
Yeah, that's it. And he, you know, and you can understand that. I mean, we've got soldiers fighting today who are killed, and then the families, you know, blame the presidents or whoever, prime ministers or whoever. So that kind of ties into that, and it makes sense because they're
Do you think as
now
well
they're
it's
refugees.
because Queen Calanthe also just like threw herself out of a window? She didn't fight to the last.
She kind of, but again, in terms of the story, that makes sense because don't forget they don't want to be tortured by.
But she only, you know, she only saved the people who were invited to her banquet from that. But then we don't really see the Nilfgaardians doing that. They are slaughtering everyone in the street. But there's none of the stuff she was describing to Ciri.
Yes.
So maybe it's just propaganda.
Of course, yes. I mean, you know, in the whole wedding scene, and the Nilfgaard prince is right there, and he, you know, trying to give his hand and everything, and she cuts him down right there and then. I did
notice as well that there is a lot of propaganda in the series. They believe the elves are living in golden castles. They left by choice, etc., etc. But the elves, meanwhile, are, you know,
they're kind of in hiding. They're living underground.
They're living underground, barely surviving.
Stealing to get food and things like that.
Well, having to get other, you know, proxies to get them food.
I mean, even Geralt himself deals with that. I mean, if you look at the songs the bards are singing and everything else that, you know, the first episode is perfect for that because
the Butcher of Blaviken.
Yeah, because they explain who he is and how he's misrepresented, because he's not really like that.
Everyone hates him.
Everyone hates him.
He's met with suspicion. But what I find interesting is that, you know, the bard, Yeskin, I think his name is. I'll look it up properly in a minute. But he writes these exaggerated versions of history, and that's what's passed around, and that's what becomes history. So it's a little bit odd that when he learns that the elves didn't choose to leave to live in their golden castles, it's a little rich that he's kind of taken aback by that.
But don't forget, he said he makes a point of saying that such and such does not make history. So to embellish it is what makes history, not the real life.
That was it. He said, "Where is your newfound respect?
Yes.
Respect doesn't make history." But
so he
perpetuates it at the end. Yes. But the fact that he's so taken aback that these tales by bards was not, in fact, the truth.
Do you think it's that whole internet thing? Don't living believe
in your little bubble.
Yeah, don't believe in everything you hear. That kind of thing. But it all intertwines. Ciri's story, Yennefer's story, and Geralt's story. It all culminates to this one point at the end.
I think it's interesting that the whole time differential in the storylines, we are given hints to that.
Yeah, we are.
Throughout in the first episode, Ciri's asking about details of battle, and Queen Calanthe won't say anything, and she's like, well, you were my age when you won such and such battle. And then we cut to Geralt's story, and Renfri's like, you know, I could have been anything. Queen Calanthe of Cintran just won her first battle at blah, blah, blah. So right there, they're telling you that these are in different time frames. And in the one as well with the incestuous king.
Yes.
You see a portrait of him and his sister as children, and then in the next scene, or a couple of scenes later, at the
castle.
No, at the Brotherhood Ascension.
Oh,
where the mages are all ascending. You see that king and his sister as children. So before they spell it out explicitly, they've been cluing you in from very early on.
Yeah. You have to actually watch to realise that that's actually going on at the time.
It's very...
It's really subtly done.
And it's also really... Yeah, through that subtlety, it's a really smart way of, like, establishing history and background without telling the story in flashback, without jumping to flashback. All you're doing is jumping to a different plot thread.
I mean, there's a lot of gore in this.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of blood, a lot of gore, a lot of slash and hack.
Do you feel that at points it does get a bit much?
Sometimes. Yeah. I have to say yes. But, well, like, you know the war scene?
Which one is...
When Nilfgaard takes over...
When Nilfgaard first invades Cintran.
Yeah. That scene is brutal. You know, you've got all these people, and you can see the army. You can see how big Nilfgaard's army is. You've got one.
You've got axes going in faces and
hacking is completely.
Yeah, there are points when it does get a bit much.
But Geralt is isn't like that in that sense.
Excuse me?
No, what I mean, he has a code.
I think at one point he literally cuts a guy down the middle.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Well,
But what
he
I
mostly
mean,
just, you know, the only time he fights dudes is in defense,
Yes.
I guess.
Mm.
I guess.
If they're in his way.
Yeah. Do you think he's a morally ambiguous character, or do you think... Because evil's evil in his mind.
Yeah,
you know,
like he says, lesser,
evil,
greater, middling.
Evil's evil.
Mm-hmm.
I guess in his mind it just stops things from getting complicated.
Yeah, and out of control. I mean, he's asked to do certain things, and he refuses because he will not. He won't do the bidding of man, but he also doesn't want to kind of take on the responsibility of Ciri. Because in a way, sometimes it feels like he's running away, and during the story, he's being told he needs to follow his destiny, and obviously at the end he gets there because he's got to find the girl in the forest.
I think it was more a case of because if you remember, that whole weird magic thing happens when Queen Calanthe tries to deny destiny and kill Dougie. I can't remember his name. We'll just call him Dougie the Hedgehog. And Geralt says, no, that was just a girl throwing around her magic to stop her mother from killing her beloved.
Yeah.
He didn't believe in destiny.
No.
And I think what happened is Nilfgaard started taking over, and he realised that, he realised that that's destiny kind of telling you fucked up.
Yeah, and that he has to go that way.
He just didn't. It's not that he was trying to run away from it. He just didn't believe it until presented with proof. And as soon as he was presented with proof, he was like, "All right, I need to take responsibility." And it's Queen Calanthe that sends him away, even puts him in the
jail. Yeah,
puts him in prison.
Yeah.
And then he escapes. And there are a couple of moments as well where they could have crossed paths, Geralt and Ciri.
Yes.
That bit at the end where he gets off the wagon and she's run away. And I'm like, I thought it was going to be like a J.J. Abrams situation where, season 2 is him still trying to track her down, and that becomes the kind of the premise of the series is just the Witcher trying to track down this little girl. I'm so glad I'm
glad that they didn't go in that direction and that they did meet, but the whole thing with, who is Yennefer?
Yeah, I keep hearing it as, who the hell is Yennefer? She doesn't say who the hell, she just said, who's Yennefer?
Yeah.
We started playing Witcher 3.
Yes.
And after finishing season 1, we finally started playing, and it starts with that kind of dream, and Yennefer is naked, and they're in the bath, and they're very post-coital, and Ciri is now a Witcher in training, and what I'm thinking is, gosh, spoilers!
Well, yeah.
Apparently that whole scene with Henry Cavill, with Geralt and Yennefer in the bath was just in reference to the game. At least the Netflix series doesn't have 400 side quests.
No, this is true. This is true. Can you imagine a TV show where he has to literally just go from house to house to house?
Well, you know how Netflix have their kind of choose your own adventure? Xavier plays the Bear Grylls one.
Yeah.
Imagine if the Witcher series started having those elements to it.
Oh my god.
Like
what morality would you take?
Before the episode can continue, you have to send Geralt on a couple of side quests first. Is there anything you feel just doesn't work? Oh, I was going to tell you, there was one actor in particular that just didn't work for me.
Yeah, go on.
And it's the Black Guard, the leader of the Black Guard. He just didn't work at first. And then when they started to give him a little bit more dialogue, I think it's just, he's supposed to be this dark and threatening figure, but he just looks like a bit of a skinny dork.
Yeah, he's a bit of a pretty boy as well. It's like that kind of.
Yeah, but he's that kind of like awkward pretty boy.
Yeah.
And because he wasn't really saying much, he just didn't.
He's supposed to come off menacing. He doesn't actually come off menacing.
Do you know who he reminded me of?
Who?
Yosef in the first John Wick movie.
Oh,
The one who actually kills his dog.
Yeah.
He just kind of reminded me of that, like the son of someone very powerful and scary, just throwing around his weight. That's the vibe I got from him.
It does feel like that at first.
Yeah, and then he starts talking in the
Yeah.
later episodes. I'm like, okay, I guess you're a little bit menacing, I suppose, in a kind of, I don't know, young Cillian Murphy kind of way. Like when he had Ciri at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then she's on the back of the horse and does the screaming thing, and then the floor splits and things like that. I didn't realise that he was supposed to be the big bad. He just looked like some random guard.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
He was taking him back to base.
That's exactly what I thought. I thought he was like the assassin kind of character trying to chase Ciri at this moment in time for Nilfgaard's king.
I just figured within the context of the army, he was just some random soldier who just happened to be in the right place to catch Ciri and is now taking her back to his overlords. I didn't realise he was the big bad. Because even when at his most menacing in the first episodes, when he's on that hill crest,
yes,
and he catches Queen Calanthe's husband in the eye with the arrow, he's supposed to be scary and menacing, and from a distance, as this figure on a hill crest, he is scary and menacing. But when up close, initially, I was just like, who's this Dorcas?
Yeah, he doesn't actually come off like that. His mage, I can't remember her name, but she's more scary than he is.
And even when he was still kind of brought back for, they're eating Queen Calanthe's flesh and he's there in the background, I still figured he was just like, maybe he's a lieutenant or something.
Yeah, it's
and then
not
when
clear.
they finally tell us that, no, he's the big bad, he's the one in charge of the Nilfgaard army, I'm like, oh. Okay. What, is he angry at his dad or something? Is this...
Yeah, we don't know why he's doing this. We have no kind of...
Well, from what I've gathered in all the exposition is the Nilfgaard throne is very frequently usurped.
Yes. So do you think he just wants power and wants to prove that it cannot be usurped now?
I don't know. I figure we're going to find out some sort of thing where there's a reason why he wants to take over everything and have Ciri and blah, blah, blah. Because they keep talking about the kind of...
she's got that power, hasn't she?
I can't remember what they keep calling it, but there's this convergence of all the planes, and that's how we ended up like in such a mishmash of magic and things like that.
Yeah.
And maybe there's something coming up regarding that.
Well, we don't know the prophecy.
And he needs Ciri to do whatever.
So she's his MacGuffin.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I don't feel like there were any loose threads at the end. I mean, there's still a lot more story to tell.
Yeah.
But nothing was left dangling.
No. Most of the characters died.
Well, that's not what I mean. What I mean by that
is...
But
it's true.
Yeah, no, but sometimes when a season ends, you're like, where are they going to go with this? And where are they going to go with that? And I wonder what that's going to... And then are they going to bring this back? And blah, blah, blah. I don't really feel like there was any of that.
No, because you've got Geralt and Cersei are now... Ciri, are now together. And now they're both, from what we can tell, are going to go look for Yennefer.
There is something loose.
Go on.
Where's Yennefer? Remember, she channeled chaos and did that big fire thing in the final battle, and then she was gone. Where's Yennefer?
She's on a different plane. Don't forget, she can astral project.
Teleport.
Teleport. So she could be somewhere out of time.
There we go. There's a loose thread to bring me back for season 2. Because you're right as well. Yennefer is the story I was most engaged with. Yeah. Or most invested in.
She has so much personality. She has so much character, such a backstory, everything about her.
Yeah.
And there was so much I personally could relate to her, and it's nice to have somebody, hate to say it, of my ethnicity in something like this. It just felt so real for me. A lot of her story did too.
I do feel like Geralt's Monster of the Week plotline kind of it made his storyline suffer a little. It didn't feel like he was on a journey or anything like that.
No, it just... He was literally going from place to place to place.
Yeah, it just felt like, even in hindsight, it felt like his journey was he was just going from adventure to adventure and until he just happened to collide with destiny. It's almost weirdly he had the least amount of agency in the whole series.
Yeah. Because things happen to him. Nothing.
I mean, we were talking about this before, where we were saying for the first half of the series, Ciri didn't really feel like she had much agency. She was just following her destiny. Yeah. She was just going wherever the story pushed her. Yes. And then there was a point where she was forced to make a decision. And she decided to find Geralt, pursue her destiny. Before, it was like, everyone was just saying, like, go find your destiny. So she was just doing as told, but then she made that decision. Yeah. Whereas Geralt was just going from
quest to quest.
Side quest to side quest.
Yeah.
But each side quest gave us a little bit more detail about the overall story. But the problem is you only realise you're being given those details on a second viewing.
I know they say The Witcher doesn't have emotions. But Geralt does have emotions.
I feel like that's more a rumour. I feel like there's something like, he is a witcher, is heard so often, and there's no point correcting people.
Yeah.
Because he does have emotions. We see him angry. We see him heartbroken.
Yep.
We see, but it's more like they don't allow themselves to show emotion. They just
Vulcan.
Yeah, they pon-far themselves. We're at 1 hour and 13, so that's an hour left. An hour of podcast. What do you want to do? Do you have much more to say?
Not at this moment in time.
Because if not, then we can just start wrapping this up.
Okay.
Yeah?
Been busting for the last 15 minutes.
Alright, cool. So we'll just wrap this up. So, I don't know about you. This is a really good series, but I don't really have much more.
No, I mean,
especially in my current state, podcast fatigue.
Look, it's a really great series. I am so looking forward to season 2. I'm hoping they go in a really good direction in trying to find the ending to all 3 stories, and I'm hoping to find out more about Geralt.
Yeah.
I think we need to find more.
Yeah, because we only see a little bit of his backstory. Toward the end, we see that his mother just kind of abandoned him to the witches.
I'd like to see more about him. The world. I love the world. I think
because he's going to be training Ciri in season 2, we're going to see a little bit more of his upbringing.
Yeah. Do you think there's going to be like that whole arrow thing where they go backwards and forwards while they...
I hope not. I hope not. Because then it's a little bit more kind of literal flashbacks rather than whatever kind of flashback they were using. But yeah, I highly... I mean, everyone who's got to this part of the podcast has seen it, so so there's no point recommending it.
No, but definitely watch it again, because we're rewatching it and you catch different things.
Yeah, there are so many contextual details that just make the story so much more, I don't know, well thought out and rich.
Yeah, just looks, scenery, little things in the background, everything. It all kind of ties in together. It's amazing.
I do love as well, I think there's a, with Ciri's storyline initially, remember what Queen Calanthe says, the first rule of battle, keep your sword nearby and keep moving. And that's what she keeps doing, and that's what she does until she reaches that forest. And then the second rule of battle is know when to stop moving. And that's what she does at the forest. She stops moving, stops trying to outrun her...
her destiny.
Or outrun her whatever, and then, stop and see who she is and etc. blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I think I'm done. I'm really drunk. You're
really drunk?
Yeah,
So that shot?
I curse you for suggesting shots.
Hey, no, I don't want to turn into that creature.
No, that's not the curse. I'm not... Oh, I love that when he's like, what was the incantation? And guys just trying to remember it. And then, oh, fuck, you said it. And it's like, the look on his face is like, shit, he just invoked it, didn't he? All right. Oh, you're going to have to fight it until dawn.
Fight it at dawn.
No, fight it until dawn.
Oh, was it until
He has to fight it
oh.
until dawn.
The way he hides in the creature's crypt.
Yeah, because that's what he has to do. Keep her out of the crypt. So he hides in the crypt and then enchants it so she can't enter it. Very smart. But yeah, I think that's it. What's our next episode?
Next.
Oh, because of Picard. Because of the release of Picard, we're going to be revisiting one of my all-time favorite Star Trek movies. I think it was the first Star Trek movie I ever went to the cinema to see.
Oh, really?
Yeah. First Contact. Mm-hmm. Love that movie.
Got lots to say then.
Yeah, anyways.
All right, so...
Yeah, no, sorry, I just got lost in the First Contact nostalgia there. So yeah, we're going to watch First Contact.
We are. I actually like that film. It's a really good film.
So,
social media, all the
yeah,
details
so
down below.
This is the bit where we do our outro. I am, if you want to catch me on Twitter, you can reach me at FrenchieBalls, and Deepa, because she never remembers her own handle, I will tell you it is Amara_secret.
Yay!
But the podcast also has a Twitter channel.
It does.
You can find it at
yes.
the French-Patels. Mm-hmm. If you want to suggest films or correct us on anything, whatever, feel free to reach out.
We're bound to get something wrong all the time, so you know.
Exactly. And what else is there? We've got...
Oh, Instagram, the French-Patels as well,
Yeah.
which when Picard comes out, we're going to try something new.
Well, yeah, and Patreon also, the French-Patels, where if you want to support the channel, you can get like a full video of the podcast, which our patrons are currently watching.
And you can see us getting drunk.
And you can see our t-shirts,
Yay!
our carefully selected t-shirts each week.
Though I need to get some more, I think.
Yeah, and also, behind the scenes stuff on the
Yeah.
Patreon. But other than that, I think I'm about ready to...
Hit the hay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So until next time, it's goodbye from her.
And it's goodbye from him.